You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. The ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming with a great podcast. Boy, we certainly, have I ever said this before? I don't know if I've said it before on the show, but we really appreciate you guys. Like, we appreciate my audience so much. I think about them all the time. You guys invade my sleep. You invade my life. You invade every moment. I'm thinking of how wonderful the audience of the Chris Voss Show is, which would be even better if you'd all share the podcast with your friends, neighbors, relatives. Tell them, hey, go subscribe to Chris Voss Show. It'll make your skin feel better. It'll make you feel more alive. And you'll just get more out of life overall. The lawyer said I can't quite say that, but you get the drift. Anyway, to see the wonderful authors we have on the show, of course, in video format, they have it now. It's free for an unlimited time on youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification. You can subscribe to all the really cool things that we have going on over there. Also, you can go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, see everything we were reading and referring to. And also go to, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all those places all the kids are. That's where we're at as well. Just search for the Chris Voss Show. Today we have two amazing authors on the show with their newest book that's going to be coming out July 1st, 2021. So you have a ability to go out and pre-buy this thing so you can be the first one on your blog, first one in your book club to say, hey, I read it first. I got a hold of it. So there you go. It's by Tess Gerritsen and Gary Braver, and the title of the book is called Choose Me. And like I said, you can get it July 1st, 2021. Tess is an international best-selling author. She took an unusual route to a writing career. It wasn't until she was on maternity leave from her job as a physician that she began to write. Since then, she's written 28 suspense novels with more than 30 million copies sold. Her books have been translated into 40 languages, and her series featuring homicide detective Jane Rizzoli and medical examiner Mara Isles inspired the hit TNT television series Rizzoli and Isles, starring Angie Harmon and Sasha Alexander. She writes full-time and lives in Maine. Gary, under the pen name usually of college professor Gary Gosh-Garian, is the best-selling author of 8 critically acclaimed mysteries and thrillers, including Gray Matter and Flashback, the first thriller to win the Massachusetts Book Award. His work has been translated into several languages. 2 have been optioned for film, including Elixir. As Gary Gosh-Garian, I should say. He teaches science fiction, horror fiction, bestsellers, and fiction writing at Northeastern University. He lives with his family outside of Boston. And welcome to the show, Tess and Gary. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Tess and Gary. Thank you, Tess and Gary. That kind of sounds like what was that old movie with? I'm thinking of the cop movie, Tess and Gary. I'm thinking of the cop movie with one of the Bridges. No. Who's the guy who did Snake in Escape from New York?
It sounds more like a cartoon show to me.
Hobbs and something. Was it something in Hobbs? Anyway, we'll just
Calvin
throw all
and
that.
Hobbes.
Calvin, yeah, there we go. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, it was a cop movie, I remember, and it was like 2 cops. I'll have to look it up. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. This is your plug so we can find you on the interwebs.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It's great to be here.
And give us your .com so people can look you up on the interweb.
Okay, I'm at tessgerritsen.com. I'm at Tess Gerritsen on Twitter, and you can find me on Facebook as well.
I'm at GaryBraver.com, and I'm on Facebook as well, too.
There you guys go. Let's think and find out why were you guys motivated to write this book? And I'm also curious why you decided to, is this the first one you paired up on, or why did you decide to pair up on this one?
I'll take on the origin story here. It is the first time we've paired up. It started off because we've known each other for a quarter of a century, which is revealing how old we are. But we had cocktails at a cocktail party in Boston at a bookstore. And this was the era of when Me Too was just coming out. All this Me Too movement was hitting the airwaves. And I was following it with great fascination because all these people were getting in trouble. And I thought every illicit affair has two sides to the story. There's the two lovers, each are going to look at this affair in different ways. Wouldn't it be interesting if we told a Me Too story with an illicit affair, but we had the man write his own chapters and the woman write her chapters, and we just see how these two different points of view make the story look different from their eyes.
Give us an arcing overview of the book and what it entails, please.
Gary?
It is centered on, as Ted said, an illicit affair between a college professor and a student. And the college professor seems a bit estranged from his wife, who is living on a treadmill life as a physician, very busy, gets home very late at night. And he's attracted to a student in his class. She's attracted to him. Each is needy. Each is lonely. And in a sense, each is available. And sparks begin to fly.
Oh.
Yeah.
The sparks begin to fly.
So it's in a way, it's okay. What if you have a crush on your teacher? What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? So it sounds like quite the adventure. Everything, is that how it goes down in the book?
Yeah, in a sense, things fall apart. Yeah.
Yeah, and it opens up with the murder. It actually is we see the ending before we see the beginning.
Oh,
So,
do you? It's one of those books.
It opens up with the death of the young woman. We don't know whether it's suicide. We don't know if it's murder. And then we have a female detective who thinks this does not smell. I want to find more about what happened to this young woman. And then we go back in time to see how we got to this murder and how this relationship developed and how it went really south really fast.
Mm. And we find out some other things, looks like, in the book. I'm not sure I disclose everything. Can I disclose everything that's in the Thomas and Mercer press release about maybe her condition when her autopsy happens?
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? So the autopsy reveals she was pregnant. Is that correct?
Yeah, but we don't know whose baby it is.
Yeah. It's not mine. I already talked to Maury. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Are you sure?
Oh,
So that is an opening point for the detective to say, oh, this goes much deeper than we realized. This may not be a suicide, which is what it looks like at first glance. Maybe the professor is the guilty one. And so a lot of the story is how this man suffers and deals with the aftermath of his very bad mistake.
Yeah. This is definitely very interesting. Someone call Maury and make sure I'm not the father. Just kidding. So a psychological thriller, a police procedural, and very complicated. So there are a lot of people that they're looking at who are going, well, it could be that person, that person.
There's a handful of suspects, of course, and that is what the job is of the homicide detective, and clicking off the boxes and then not knowing what you have and who did it. But it is a page turner. There are all sorts of suspenseful moments, but we also wanted initially to suggest how flawed and complicated these characters are. And adultery is an old trope. Professor and student relationship is an old trope, but we wanted to put new wine in old bottles, and that is what we wanted. So it's character driven as well, plot driven. External forces cause things to move along. Character driven. There are changes within the characters themselves, and that moves the story along. And we just define both plot-driven and character-driven.
And your main character is Detective Frank Loomis? Is that Frankie Loomis? I'm sorry, Frankie Loomis.
Okay, I'm going to say there are three main characters. Okay. I mean, it's hard to say that she's a main character. I would say the real character, the real gist of the angst that happens in this book, is Jack, the man. Because it's not just a murder mystery. It's really about how your life can fall apart when you make one mistake. And how do you preserve everything you love when it's your fault that everything has gone wrong? And maybe sometimes an affair isn't such a good idea. Maybe that's the beginning of the worst nightmare of your life. So it's really not just a murder mystery. It's an exploration of the guilt of one man and how he's desperate to save his career and his marriage. Kind
of like that string you pull off a sweater. Just keeps coming right apart.
Exactly.
It gets worse and worse.
And they hang if you get too much and too close.
There you go. So Jack Dorian is one of the key characters. Detective Frankie Loomis is another one, the law enforcement agent, single mother. And who's the third character?
The third character is the student, Taryn Moore. She is a senior. She's an English major. She takes Jack Dorian's class. He's teaching a small seminar called Star-Crossed Lovers, which seems to be appropriate for what's going on in the novel. And she makes moon eyes at him, and he's attracted to her, and he helps her get into graduate school and helps her become experienced as a student, an academic, and then things get personal.
Mm.
Okay, let's point out that she's beautiful, she's brilliant, she's every man's fantasy, and that's exactly why you want to stay away.
Exactly.
I mean, she's a complicated woman, and she's also perhaps your worst nightmare. And I think, as men, you may have met women like this, but she also has the reasons for why she is the way she is.
Interesting.
And the thing is that we did not want to stereotype her as crazy. That's not what we wanted to do, nor did we want to exonerate Jack committing adultery. This is a lot more complex. This is much more gray than black or white, and the characters are complicated. They're needy. They're available to each other, but so it's a study of what made them, what in their flaws made them make some bad decisions and regret them. And in her case, she's dead. So it's quite regrettable.
Like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? You die.
Yeah,
right.
That's usually that's the worst. I'm pretty sure. We'll have to check with our panel. Basically, Tess, you're a doctor, and Gary, you've written biomedical thrillers. How did medicine influence the storytelling that you guys did into this? What sort of science maybe you guys put in?
Medicine always helps me when I do my autopsy scenes. That I don't have to research as much. It also helped that Jack's wife in this story is a medical doctor. And so a lot of what happens is, like, some of it happens in her medical clinic. Some of it happens because she's a medical doctor, that it makes her very busy. So I understand the stresses of being married to a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And there are medical issues within the novel that Tess addressed too. It would have meant a few hours of research on my part, but I just turned to Tess and said, take care of this scene. And she did.
Wow.
Just as Gary knows the university system backwards and forwards, I wouldn't have been able to write those scenes because I don't know how it really is to deal with university administration.
There you go. Is this the first time you use these characters? Do you guys see any continuing books coming out of this, turning into a series?
Not right now. One of them is dead, so.
Well, you can do a prequel or something. But do you see this being optioned for a movie, or any movie stars that you've had in your head when you're writing the book?
It's being sent around right now to various studios. So we'll see.
There you go. And what was your favorite part about writing the book together?
Oh, torturing Jack. I love torturing Jack. To make his life so miserable. Authors we're really cruel to our characters. We want to put them through the ringer. And so every time things got worse for him, I'd go, yay.
And actually playing a part that is guilty, you have a kind of a psychodrama with your character. So you imagine you recall the times in your life when you felt guilty about something. So my role was to exaggerate that to something really terrible, like cheating on my wife. And I was in a psychodrama and pretending I am him under the burden, the torment of, oh my God, I'm going home to my wife at night. What have I done? And I love her like crazy. It's also a tension between initially lust and love. He wants more passion, and that he adores his wife and doesn't want to lose his marriage. He also doesn't want to lose his career.
It's interesting how much we aspire to hold on to things when we betrayed them, and then we realize that their value after we've already crossed that bridge, right?
Yeah.
Right. Good, Terry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, this is probably not that uncommon a situation, and that half of marriages involve infidelity. So this must be. This is probably something that has been experienced by a great segment of humanity.
Yeah.
And I think that sense of overwhelming guilt and what did I do and how do I save everything is going to be familiar to some of our readers.
Right.
People really like subjects like this too, especially, what was that one movie that was crazy? Fatal Attraction? That was a love affair gone bad.
Yes.
We wanted to avoid that. I mean, that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You can only pull off that bunny boiling scene once.
Exactly.
So the book is split up into some interesting parts. I see before and after through here. Tell us how you guys decided to lay that out, and why you guys chose that layout of the book in telling the story.
It didn't start off that way. We wrote it in chronological order. So we started off with the affair, and then we got to the point where the student dies, and then the detective came in about 2/3 of the story. So we had this chronological story that was laid out, and then our editor said, I like this detective. I want to see her earlier. The only way to bring her in earlier into the story was to have the murder already have happened. And that's how we got to this sort of unusual organization of going both before and after. So as I like to think of it as, we're seeing a train wreck. We're seeing the train after it's wrecked. Now we're going to go back and see how the train got to that point. And that's the way that this is structured.
There you go. And so it keeps you hopping around, keeps you jumping, keeps the story fresh. And it keeps you going, what's going on now? Any stories or teasers you guys want to throw out on the book and to entice people to get any little bits that you can tease out? Any scenes, maybe?
The only teaser is what was the genesis of this, the Metoo Movement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we first started talking about this, there was Matt Damon got castigated on air because he said there is a spectrum of sexual abuse, and kissing someone uninvitedly and rape. So it's a huge spectrum. And about 20 years ago, colleges and universities in America became compliant to the the Department of Education that no student should feel threatened, either for race or gender. And also there's a subclause called non-fraternization, which means you can't have a sexual affair with a student over whom you're holding his or her grades or thesis. And that before that, people looked the other way when students and professors had relationships. They ended up getting married. Shirley Jackson, who wrote The Lottery and wrote, The Haunting of Hill House, she was in class with Professor Stanley Wyman, who read a paper and said, I'm going to marry her someday. They did, and they moved to Bennington College, and he had an outrageous number of affairs with his students. People looked the other way. You would be hanged in the quadrangle today if you did that. So that was the pressure in this book. Can this guy get away with it, save his marriage, and save his career? So if that's a tease, read the rest of the book.
Should he get away with that? That's the other.
And exactly.
What Gary's describing to me is just appalling.
Yes.
Those down. Thank heavens we don't do that kind of thing today. But humans are frail, and they've always been frail, and nowadays they have to pay for it.
They have to pay for it. I like how Tess is
right.
They have to pay for it. They will pay. This is pretty interesting, guys. This will be a fun read for your fan base and people that like your guys' books. They'll be able to go, hey, man, another great book and all that good stuff. And hopefully it'll introduce a new generation of people to your genres. And do you guys normally target college students, professors in your books, or is this kind of a new area?
This is new for me. Yeah, I've had one other novel with a college professor in it, but it was much more of a real thriller, medical thriller. But this is the first time an affair between the two. Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So anything more we want to tease out on the book before we go? Novels are hard because you can't give anything away. But this is one thing I really love about the female detective is that she's an unusual detective in fiction because she's a middle-aged woman with teenage kids. Oh.
And I think that the wisdom of her age allows her to see things as a mother with eyes in the back of her head that maybe a cop who's never had children would see.
There you go. It's a book for everyone. Everyone can read. Mm-hmm. Probably even me. All generations. So it appealed to everyone. This is great, guys. It's been wonderful to have you on the show. Give us your plugs so that people can look you guys up on the interwebs and find out more about you and where to order the book.
Okay. I am at tessgerritsen.com. You can find me on Twitter at Tess Gerritsen.
There you go.
And I am Gary Braber at garybraber.com, and you can find me on Facebook too.
There you go. And Tess and Gary, thank you very much for being on the show and spending some time with us today, introducing us to the book.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. And to my audience, go check it out. Choose Me. It's out on July 1st, 2021. You can order it up at wherever fine books
There's a cover.
are sold. Yes, but only where the finest books are sold, not where the non-fine. Go to where the fine books are sold. So support your local bookseller and everything else. Order it up, guys. You can get ahead of your book club on it, grab it, and all that good stuff. So see what we're reading and reviewing on goodreads.com/Chris Voss. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, hit the bell notification. Go see us at all the other places we have, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those groups that we have there all over the place. Be well, stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.